Did Ford finally fix the 10-speed transmission for 2027? That is the question every truck buyer in America is asking right now. And the answer is not as simple as a yes or a no. So stick with me, because by the end of this, you will know exactly what is really going on under the hood of your next Ford truck or SUV. Ford's 10-speed automatic transmission is one of the most important pieces of engineering the company builds today. You will find versions of it in the F-150, the Ranger, the Bronco, the Expedition, the Mustang, and several Lincoln models. The heavy-duty Super Duty trucks run a beefed-up version of this transmission too, the 10R140, which is a step up from the lighter-duty 10R80 found in most half-ton trucks and SUVs. With all the buzz building around the 2027 Ford lineup, a lot of owners and shoppers want to know if Ford has made major changes to this transmission. And it makes sense why people keep asking, because this single transmission touches nearly every corner of Ford's truck and SUV business, so any real change to it would ripple across the entire lineup. Based on everything that is publicly available right now, Ford has not announced a brand new 10-speed automatic or a major mechanical overhaul for the 2027 model year. What the evidence actually points to is Ford sticking with its usual playbook, refining the transmission through software updates, calibration changes, and the kind of production tweaks every automaker makes over a vehicle's life cycle. So let's break down what we actually know. This transmission did not start out as a solo Ford project. Back in the mid-2000s, Ford and General Motors teamed up to develop a shared family of 10-speed automatic transmissions. Even though both companies used the same basic architecture, each one built its own control software, torque converter, valve body, calibration strategy, and supporting hardware. So a Ford version and a GM version are far from identical under the surface. The whole point of this transmission was to replace the older 6-speed automatics with something that offered tighter, more closely spaced gears. With 10 forward gears, the engine can stay closer to its ideal power band, whether you are accelerating, cruising on the highway, or towing a heavy trailer. That tighter spacing can boost performance, lower engine speed at cruising, and squeeze out better fuel economy compared to the old 6-speed setup, which matters a lot for owners who are watching every penny at the pump. Since it first rolled out, Ford has pushed this 10-speed transmission into nearly every corner of its truck and SUV lineup. Now let's talk about owner feedback, because this is where things get real, and this is honestly the part most buyers care about the most. Like almost every modern automatic transmission on the market, Ford's 10-speed has racked up plenty of happy owners who have put tens of thousands of miles on their trucks with zero issues. But it has also picked up a fair share of complaints along the way. Some drivers, especially those with earlier model years, have reported harsh or firm shifts between certain gears, hesitation when accelerating hard, delayed engagement when shifting into drive or reverse, gear hunting during light throttle, and rough shifting in cold weather. Now, these problems do not show up in every single vehicle, and plenty of owners never experience any of them at all across hundreds of thousands of miles. But they were common enough across certain years and models that Ford issued multiple technical service bulletins, or TSBs, for specific models and production years. In most cases, the fix Ford recommended was a software update or a recalibration of the transmission control system, not a full teardown or replacement of major internal parts, which tells you a lot about how much of this transmission's behavior actually lives in code rather than in metal. For anyone unfamiliar, a technical service bulletin is guidance Ford sends to dealerships to help them diagnose or correct known issues. Essentially, a shared playbook that lets technicians across the country fix the same problem the same way, instead of guessing. It is important to understand that a TSB is not the same as a safety recall, and it does not mean every single vehicle out there has the same defect. So if you hear about a TSB on a truck you own or are considering, it is not automatically a red flag. So why does software play such a massive role in how this transmission behaves? And why does that matter so much for anyone considering a 2027 model? Modern automatic transmissions lean heavily on electronics these days, far more than the transmissions people grew up driving decades ago. Instead of relying purely on hydraulic pressure like the transmissions of decades past, Ford's 10-speed uses a network of sensors and computer-driven logic to decide gear selection, clutch pressure, torque converter behavior, and the timing of every single shift you feel behind the wheel. The transmission is constantly reading live data: vehicle speed, engine load, throttle position, fluid temperature, and how you personally drive it. Ford also builds in what is called an adaptive shift strategy, which adjusts clutch pressure and shift feel based on both current driving conditions and your learned driving habits over time, meaning the transmission in your truck can actually behave a little differently than the identical truck sitting next to it on the dealer lot, simply because it has learned your specific driving style. The whole goal here is to keep shift quality consistent for the entire life of the transmission. Because software controls so much of how this transmission actually performs, Ford, like most manufacturers, often chooses to improve the driving experience through updated calibrations rather than redesigning the hardware from scratch. And that brings us to one of the biggest points people misunderstand. This transmission has never been a static, one-time design that Ford built once and walked away from. It has evolved constantly since it first entered production, quietly, in the background, through updates most owners never even notice. Over the years, Ford has rolled out software updates and revised calibrations for specific vehicles to sharpen shift quality and overall drivability. Just like other automakers across the industry, Ford also makes small production refinements throughout a transmission's life cycle, changes that rarely get announced publicly. Based on everything available right now, Ford has not confirmed a next-generation 10-speed transmission for 2027. So if you are shopping for a new Ford truck or SUV next year, you should think of this transmission as a continued evolution of a proven design, not a brand new gearbox built from the ground up. One of the real strengths of this transmission family is how flexible it is, and that flexibility is a big reason it has survived this long across so many different vehicles. Ford pairs different versions and calibrations of the 10-speed with a wide range of engines across its lineup, including the 2.3-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder, the 2.7-liter EcoBoost V6, the 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6, the 3.5-liter PowerBoost Hybrid, the 5.0-liter Coyote V8, and the mighty 7.3-liter Godzilla V8 found in applicable Super Duty models. Even though the core architecture stays fundamentally the same, Ford tunes each application's specific calibration to match that vehicle's weight, engine characteristics, intended use, and towing demands. Speaking of towing, that was actually one of the main engineering goals behind this transmission from day one. And for a huge chunk of Ford's customer base here in the States, towing capability is the single biggest factor in choosing a truck. Its tightly spaced gear ratios help keep the engine operating in its sweet spot, whether you are pulling a trailer or hauling a heavy payload. Ford's tow haul mode takes that a step further, adjusting shift timing and engine braking to give you better control in demanding situations. This transmission also works hand in hand with Ford's trailer assistance technology found across many F-Series trucks, giving drivers an extra layer of confidence when they are hooking up a trailer for a weekend trip or a heavy work haul. That said, Ford has not announced any brand new towing-specific transmission hardware or control features unique to the 2027 model year. Now let's talk hybrids for a second, because this is another area where a lot of buyers get confused. Ford's PowerBoost Hybrid system builds an electric motor right into the transmission assembly, working alongside the 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6, and that integration is part of what makes the PowerBoost setup feel so seamless from behind the wheel. The transmission has to coordinate gasoline power, electric assist, regenerative braking, and overall power delivery all at once, in real time, without the driver ever noticing the handoff between systems. Because hybrid systems depend so heavily on electronic controls, manufacturers can often improve how the vehicle drives through software revisions alone, without touching the physical hardware. And right now, Ford has not announced any transmission-specific hybrid upgrades for 2027 either. So what about long-term reliability? The thing every single buyer actually wants to know before they sign on the dotted line. That is still being evaluated through real-world owner experience, the same way it always is with any transmission. Because no amount of lab testing can fully replicate years of real driving in real conditions. Since this 10-speed first entered production, Ford has rolled out software updates, technical service bulletins, and calibration revisions for certain vehicles. Plenty of owners report years of trouble-free service, while others, especially with some of the earlier production models, have run into shift quality concerns. As with any transmission on the market, long-term reliability comes down to a mix of factors. the specific version of the transmission, how the vehicle is used day to day, maintenance history, operating conditions, and whether the owner actually got the recommended software updates installed. Routine maintenance, using the correct transmission fluid, and staying current on software updates all matter if you want to maximize the life of this transmission. And that last point about software updates is honestly something a lot of owners overlook entirely, even though it can make a real difference in how the truck actually drives day to day. So here is the bottom line for anyone shopping the 2027 lineup, and this is really the part you came here for. Based on everything publicly available today, you should not expect a completely redesigned Ford 10-speed automatic transmission to show up under the hood of your next truck. Instead, expect Ford to keep building on a well-established platform, one that has been refined continuously throughout its production run through countless small, unglamorous updates, rather than a single flashy redesign. If Ford does introduce more improvements, they will most likely come in the form of software calibration or routine production refinements, rather than a totally new transmission design from scratch. And honestly, this approach is common across the entire automotive industry, where a proven transmission platform often stays in production for years while receiving small, incremental improvements the whole time. So let's wrap this up. Ford's 10-speed automatic transmission has become one of the most important components across the company's truck, SUV, and performance vehicle lineup, and it is hard to overstate just how many miles American drivers put behind this one piece of engineering every single day. Its wide ratio spread, its many application-specific calibrations, and its compatibility with EcoBoost engines, the PowerBoost Hybrid system, and the V8 lineup have made it one of the most widely used modern transmissions Ford has ever built. Earlier production models did generate some real owner complaints about shift quality, and Ford addressed a lot of those concerns through technical service bulletins and targeted software updates for the affected vehicles. As for the 2027 model year, there is currently no official evidence that Ford is introducing an all-new 10-speed transmission or a major mechanical redesign. Based on what we know right now, this transmission should be viewed as a mature, proven platform, one that keeps evolving through software revisions, calibration updates, and routine production refinements, rather than a brand new piece of hardware built completely from scratch. As the first 2027 Ford models actually reach customers here in the United States, real-world, long-term owner experience will give us the clearest picture yet of how reliable this transmission truly is, and that kind of real-world data always tells a more accurate story than early speculation ever can. Until Ford releases any additional technical details on this transmission, the smartest thing you can do as a buyer is separate confirmed facts from online speculation and rumor. And that is exactly what we have done for you here today. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure you are subscribed, because we will be covering every single 2027 Ford powertrain update as soon as the real, verified information actually drops.